Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay, Lions fans, we are live. Coming to y'all after a heartbreaking NFC championship loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's talk about it. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Let's get our calls out the way first. As you see on the screen, you see our TikTok. Go over there and follow us if you will. And we are live right now on YouTube and on Twitter/X. If you see it on the screen right there, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that follow and give us a like, son. We came up short 34-31, a heartbreaking second half. There's fingers pointing all over the place, but you and I are going to break it down piece by piece. Let's start first with we usually start with defense. Let's start with the offense. What were the pros and cons with the offense yesterday?
Well, for a while, I mean, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but I mean, they literally did what we said they needed to do. I can't see the stats. Montgomery, I don't really even need to see the stats to know. I mean, well, how many rush yards did Montgomery have?
Oh, sorry. Let me get those stats up.
And it's
He
fine. I mean, if you
had
can't, we already know they had a well over 100 yards.
93,
Yeah,
93 on
Montgomery
15.
had a great game rushing. Gibbs had a great game rushing at pretty much all game. I even in the second half it shut down a little bit, but no, for the most part they had a great game rushing. I don't care what you guys say. Jared Goff's a game manager, and he did game manager things. That's what we needed him to do. That's fine. That's cool. At least in the first half, that's what he did. Um, and then they just like what I expected, because Jacob, that's one of our friends, or one of my friends. He made a good point. He was like, man, we just had a net. You kind of always had that nagging feeling in your mind that they're going to mess up somehow. And they did. I knew they weren't going to do good in the third quarter because the Lions didn't make any adjustments, and they never do good in the third quarter. They did terrible in the third quarter. But I'm sure we'll talk more about it. The offense did terrible other than the first half. So that's all I have to say. I don't really blame the defense, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people, not only people I work with, because we talked about it today at work like crazy, but people even on Twitter, a lot of people was saying that it's all on Ben Johnson. That Ben Johnson, they call him conservative Ben Johnson. A lot of people have been saying that when it comes to the third quarter, Ben Johnson is the best play caller in the NFL in the first half. For some reason, in the second half, his play calling seems to always dip. Uh, this is what I saw with the offense. I saw drops. I saw that Gibbs fumble, which was huge, which also helped change the momentum right after that crazy off the face mask catch that Brandon Ayuk caught. That's really what I think happened. Let's start. We can just break down the whole offense. I know a lot of people don't like it when we say that Jared Goff is a game manager, but I don't understand what's wrong with that. I mean, Trent Dilfer was a game manager when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl in the early 2000s. Everybody said it. I'm sorry, not the Buccaneers. I meant the Ravens. Everybody said that it was the defense that won that championship, and Trent Dilfer was that type of a quarterback. He was a game manager. Trent Dilfer wasn't asked to get out there and win the game. He was asked to get out there and manage the game. That's what Jared Goff is. And the reason why I agree with that is because he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not a guy who can literally put the offense on his back, and that's fine. But he can't put the offense on his back and say, hey, I'm going to win us this game. Right. Granted, Jared Goff did have a good game statistically. If you look at his stats, no interceptions. Yeah. He didn't turn the ball over. But for those who say you guys are tripping, Jared Goff, led the team down the field, it's true. But I think they must have forgot that over the head throw he did to Gibbs on that out route. I think they forgot when he didn't catch the ball on the flea flicker clean. If he'd have caught it clean and got his hands on the laces, St. Brown was open on that flea flicker. I guess they forgot that Gibbs was wide open in the end zone and Jared Goff overthrew him badly.
And honestly, I don't care. That wasn't a good ball to J-Mo. They're blaming J-Mo. That wasn't a good ball to me. But whatever.
Right. So I think that people are forgetting that. And as far as the running backs go, I thought the running backs were fine. What happened with Gibbs and Goff on the handoff, who knows? One of them turned the wrong way. We don't know who it was. I thought the offensive line held up. I'm going to give the offensive line credit. I thought they held up against that pass rush. Nick Bosa did get through a couple of times, but it seems that Penny Sewell, unfortunately, they did the same thing twice where Bosa would hit Sewell's outside shoulder, but then they brought, I think it was Greenlaw, to hit the inside. So unfortunately, Penny Sewell has to fall off of one of those guys. So that's how Bosa got back there so clean. And I thought the receivers, with the exception of Josh Reynolds, did a good job. I thought Amon St. Brown was on it. J-Mo was on it. Josh Reynolds was the only exception there. Let's move on to the defense. What were the pros and cons with the defense?
I guess the only pro, like I said, they did what we needed. They didn't let, well, man, I almost want to say they did make him uncomfortable, but he turned into Lamar Jackson, though. So did they really make him that uncomfortable? But I would say for the most part, they did. George Kittle was pretty much shut down that whole game, right? They almost did what we said, bro. We said we need them. It's fine if Christian McCaffrey goes off. Okay, maybe Brendan, you can go off a little bit, but you got to shut off one guy. Christian McCaffrey didn't really have a crazy game, right?
I wouldn't say he had a crazy game, but they did do a good job shutting Kittle down. Kittle was not a factor.
I mean, crash.
Hold on. I don't remember where he finished. I mean, he did have 90 yards. I mean, but he averaged 4.5. He had 4.5 a carry. He did have those 2 touchdowns. He 4 for 42 on receptions. I mean, he had a good game. I won't say Christian McCaffrey had a terrible game.
Yeah, I would say we contained him. Kind of. But yeah, let me keep going. So Cam Sutton's terrible. He's not a number 1 receiver. He's not a number 1 corner. He's a number 2. He got pushed around because what did he say? Josh Reynolds and thank you, bro. Gotables. Did you see that comment? Josh Reynolds and Buller cost us the game. I'm gonna speak on that. What the heck? I don't care if it's a hard catch, bro. Catch the ball. Like what do we say? SOL, same old Lions, bro. That was literally the same old Lions in that game in the second half. That reminded me of a few years ago. Those crazy stuff. Dude, it hit him right in the hands. I know it's a hard catch, but Jalen Ramsey's catching that. Patrick Surtain's catching that. Devon Witherspoon's catching that. Sauce Gardner's catching that. Okay? Any other elite corners catching that ball. They're not going to let it somehow bounce off their face mask and the dude catches the ball. Like, are you serious?
Worst case scenario, he could have knocked the ball down.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Worst case scenario, I mean, yeah, I get it. I get that he was kind of airborne. I get all of that. But worst case scenario, he could have knocked the ball down. But that did feel like that. That felt like something that used to happen to the Lions. Yeah. The way that ball hit him in the face mask and IU catches it, that did feel like, something happened to the Lions. As far as my take on the defense is this. I thought that the front 4 was pretty decent. Pascal, to me, made a difference. I think that he's going to be pretty good because now that he's starting to be healthy. We can talk at another time, son, about what we think the team, needs to add. I thought the linebackers did a pretty decent job. I thought that Aaron Glenn, people have been getting Aaron Glenn mess all season, but I think that Aaron Glenn is actually not as bad a defensive coordinator as people have been trying to make him out to be all season. I think the issue is the corners.
Yeah.
And people who know football a lot better than me, they make it very clear that Aaron Glenn wants to play man coverage. People forget Aaron Glenn played in the NFL. He was a DB himself, but he doesn't have the corners where he can actually press and play man like that. And the corners cost us. I hate to say this, but Cam Sutton fell off. Yeah. He did so good most of the season, but the last few weeks, starting with that Dallas game, he fell off.
Yeah.
I mean, he stayed
before Justin Jefferson put 300 on him.
Yes, he stays stumbling. He stays stumbling whenever someone runs an out route.
Round, dude, are you serious? You're a grown man.
Yeah, he stays stumbling, and we know the needs. We know that our boys got to get out there and get a lockdown corner. But like I said, that's another take for another day. Let's talk about the coaching staff. What was your thoughts on the coaching staff, pros and cons?
It was terrible. I give him a D. It was just terrible. I'm sorry. People are saying, don't point fingers at Dan Campbell. Bro, Dan Campbell lost us the game. Dad, remember last year? He cost us the playoffs last year. I'm trying to remember what game it was, but there were games that we would have won the year before. We would have went to the playoffs if Dan Campbell wasn't so aggressive. People say aggressive play style won us the game. Bro, it's the NFC Championship game.
Right.
And what if you're gonna go for it, you should have went for it in the first. Remember, it was the first half when we were like 5 yards away from the end zone.
Yes.
Then that would have made sense to go for it. Then it doesn't make sense to go for it to tie up the game. It makes no sense. And Jacob made a good point. I guess he did it twice. I forgot he did it in the third quarter. And I know Josh Reynolds dropped the ball, but who cares? Stop going for the NFC Championship. That's like if you told me, Yamar, there's $50 million on this game, on a Madden game. That's a video game. There's no chance I do something that stupid. And it's not. Dan Campbell had a quote where he said, "Oh, it's easy in hindsight." No, it's obvious. I literally texted Jacob and texted you and said, "Man, I hope he takes the field goal here," because if he would have, people are saying you guys would have lost anyways. No, you guys are making up a hypothetical. For all we know, we could have got a 3-and-out and stopped them. And even if they would have scored, if you guys want to do that, Jameson Williams scored a touchdown and the game would have been tied up. To make it even worse, when we were driving down the field on third down, this fool Dan Campbell caught a run play out of a non-heavy package, trying to be cute. Bro, you might as well just throw the ball so the clock can stop. It doesn't make any sense. It was terrible play calling. And the truth is, players can drop balls. The coach lost the game for us. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I got to be honest. It was Dan Campbell. That's why we lost the game, you guys. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. At least if we could have saved that timeout, we would have had a chance to I'm sure Christian McCaffrey would have got a first down, but at least we would have had a chance to stop the 49ers. So no, I completely blame Dan Campbell. I really love Dan Campbell, but it was idiotic play calling. It was stupid play calling by him and Ben Johnson. It was just silly. I just don't understand. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to be, I have to be completely honest. I'm very conflicted. We're just looking at some. I just have some highlights up right here. I'm very conflicted on the coaching. I understand why Coach went forward on that fourth down. It was actually a good play call. Reynolds just dropped the ball, but that one in the third quarter, I would have liked to seen Coach go for the field goal. Yes, I'm not going to say it was
quarter. It was in the fourth quarter.
Oh, what's the fourth?
The second one we went for it was in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes left in the game. It was 7 minutes left in the game. The second one. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have liked this. I would have liked to have seen Coach at least attempt a field goal. I don't think anybody would have been upset if Badger would have missed it, because that field goal would have put us up 27-24. And the truth is that you don't know what's going to happen after that. What it does is, in my opinion, is it quiets the crowd down. The crowd was already starting to get into it. You felt the momentum swing. That would have taken the crowd out of the game a little bit. As for AG, I'm not going to really blame AG. I think that the defense played pretty well. I mean, against a top 5 team in the NFL, I thought the defense played, pretty well, with the exception of the corners. Ben Johnson, though, I will put some blame on, because I felt that, like he always does, he got very conservative in the second half. What happened to those end rounds? What happened to those quick screens? It seemed like we kind of went away from that in the second, and we always do it. We did it against who was that earlier in the year who we were up on big, and then I can't even remember now, y'all. It was a game. What game was that where we had like 21 points in the first half, and then the team began to come back in the second half because we began to get kind of conservative. But I mean, that just kind of is what it is. The offense and the defense, will get better. Like I said, we won't dig, because you and I will be doing shows in the off season. We will talk more about what we think the team needs going forward. But right now, son, what was your final thoughts? I would say, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more. It was a tough one, man. What was your final thoughts on the game?
Honestly, in my opinion, it was just a terrible game, man. I'm sorry. I just can't be one of those guys that say, well, it was a great season. We made it there. Dude, we were dominating them and they imploded. That's like they lost in the literal worst possible way you could lose a game. They should be in the Super Bowl right now playing a close game with the Chiefs, but instead we have to watch the Niners and the Chiefs. And like Dan Campbell said, it's going to be I don't know if you saw the press conference. I barely even watched it. I only saw it because it was on Twitter, because I didn't want to hear what he had to say. but it's going to be twice as hard to make it next year. The conference is going to be good.
Yes, it is.
The schedule is pretty tough, actually. It's harder than what you guys think. I'm not going to lie. I was looking at the schedule. For all we know, the Packers could go 13-4 and win the conference next year. The Vikings are going to be pretty decent, and the Bears might be good. Or I don't know if the Vikings are going to be decent, but the Bears are probably going to be decent. The Packers are going to be good. They basically have the third coming of Brett Favre or the second coming of Aaron Rodgers, whatever you want to say.
Mm.
And I don't know. I'm still in shock and just disappointed. I really don't know what to say. And I'm sorry, guys. Jared Goff isn't worth $50 million. So will you guys stop talking about that on Twitter? Like, where are you guys getting that he's worth $50 million? He's the guy who, like, there's like trends with him. He does this all the time. He overthrows players all the time. It's not like he just did it today. But whatever. I mean, at $50 million, he'd be one of the higher paid quarterbacks in the league, right?
I would think so. I think that I think the Jared Goff thing, son, is this. I just got to be honest. No, I don't think Jared Goff is worth $50 million. But the truth is, what are we going to do? I mean,
exactly. That's what we talked about.
Hendon Hooker is not ready, not that I know of. And what are they going to do? They're going to go out and get somebody. You're not going to trade for a top quarterback. What are we going to do? We're going to draft a quarterback in the second, or another quarterback in the second or third round, and hope that he pans out. Listen. One guy on Twitter said, I wish I can remember who it was so I can give him credit. But I remember a guy said on Twitter about a month ago, he said, people, you guys don't realize that Jared Goff was always the plan. That was Brad Holmes' guy from the beginning. Right. It was Jared Goff or nothing. If Jared Goff doesn't come through for us, the Lions are not going to be a winner. We're not going to get a better quarterback. So we're going to have to ride this thing out with Jared Goff and just hope that he becomes more clutch and more accurate. I mean, that's just what is going to be pretty much. But
yeah, and I don't think it's going to happen. But I guess we'll see.
I want to touch on the division real quick because I was telling one of my coworkers this earlier. Yes, the NFC North is going to be one of the best divisions next year. It's going to be us against the Packers fighting for the division. The Bears are going to be better, and the Vikings, if Kirk Cousins comes back healthy, they're going to be better than they were this year. The division is going to be tough, and for all of those, well, hey, you never know about next year. They need to understand a couple things. If you've been watching football long enough, that's the same thing that the Dolphins said back in '85, Dan Marino's second year. They said they went to the Super Bowl, they lost, and they said, we got this young quarterback, we'll be back. You want to know something? Dolphins never made it back to the Super Bowl.
Look at the Bengals. We're the Bengals right now.
Exactly. So that, next year, people, you don't know what's going to be next year. This was we needed to go forward this year. But there is some light that I'm going to shed. And this is what I honestly think, son. I told someone this earlier. The Lions can be a dynasty. And I believe it, not because I'm a Lions fan, but I believe it. We can be the next Kansas City Chiefs or 1980s, 90s San Francisco 49ers or Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. We can be a dynasty. And what I mean is that we could be that team that goes to 4 Super Bowls in 6 years like the Chiefs are about to do, because we have a young nucleus. It's just that we just have to get a few more dogs, a few more good pieces. And I think that we can be the dynasty. And to me, son, that's the positive. I don't think that we're done now. Another thing I want to say another piece of history is some of you may or may not know is that in 1991, when we had that great season, we went 12-4, went to the NFC Championship game. Some people probably don't realize this. We didn't even make the playoffs the next year in 92. The Lions did not make the playoffs in 92 at the championship game.
I'm telling y'all, man. I don't have Jared Goff could easily have a terrible season next year. I hope he doesn't.
He could, and that's the thing. Jared Goff, he could have another good season, and he could almost get us back there, or he could have a terrible season. He could be that guy that the Rams was so ready to give up on when they traded for Matthew Stafford. The truth is this: it's really going to come down to a lot of it's going to come down to Jared Goff, and Jared Goff did a good job of not making a lot of mistakes, but he's just, man, like right there, like he threw a dime right there. He just doesn't do that enough. We need that Jared Goff right there for the whole season. We need a guy who doesn't overthrow or underthrow guys. The guy that doesn't get jittery when the pocket breaks down. And we need what Brock Purdy gave us. We need a guy who's not scared to run out of that pocket. Brock Purdy is not a running quarterback, but yet and still, you see what he did to us in the second half. Yeah. Every time the pocket broke down, he jetted up out of there, looking like Steve Young.
I'm sorry, but I'm going for it there. I just don't understand, man. Yeah.
you know. So that's our thoughts, Lions fans. Thanks some of you for joining us, the Goatables. Hey man, thank you for the comment. I really appreciate it. We are doing this thing now where when we do our show, we're gonna go live on Twitter, X, whatever, and YouTube and try to do it that way. So we do appreciate the comment. That's good looking out. But we want to give our thoughts on the Lions fans. You know what? It was a good season. No, I'm not satisfied. I'm not one of these fans that's satisfied that it was a good season. I'm just saying that it was a good season. And I believe
Yes.
that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are the right people for the job. I believe that they can get us there. But I'm going to agree with something you said, son. When the playoffs is different from the regular season, we love Dan Campbell. And people, I said something to somebody on Twitter earlier. I'm sick of people saying, oh, why people hating on Dan Campbell? We actually love Dan Campbell. It's
Yeah.
just that, and he is the right man for the job. He's changed the coach. It's just that, coach, when we're that close to the Super Bowl, you have to try to go for the points. And if Badger misses it, we could put it on him, and
We'd
we
all
can
be
we
blaming.
can yeah,
Right.
we could say, hey man, coach tried to go for it, But then then there's the people who say that's who your coach is. He goes for it on 4th and 2 because he believes in his team. That's fine. But you have to play chess sometimes. You can't play checkers the whole season. At some point, you have to play chess and say, you know what? Let's go for these 3. If we get it, that's points on the board. It takes the crowd out of it. But whatever. We can't replay the game, right? Game's over. And now, like you said, we have to watch the 49ers and the Chiefs next week in the Super Bowl. Did we forget anything, son?
Uh, uh, I mean, no. I mean, we'll talk about this more in the offseason. The only thing I gotta say is, Lions, don't be cute. We need a defensive lineman and a cornerback. It's that simple. Do not try to be cute and get an offensive lineman or something. It's that easy. It's that easy. That's what we need. A defensive lineman and a corner. That's what we need. Okay? Like, wouldn't you agree with that?
I would say we have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds or 3 rounds, son. I honestly think that the picks have to go like this is my opinion. I think the picks have to be corner, edge, guard, corner. That's what I think. Because
Yeah.
I do think we need, you're not going to talk about that more. I still think we need a right guard. We need a dog, young right guard, because
Yeah.
the right guard spot has been a merry-go-round all season. But that's what I think, son. Just like that, corner, edge, guard, corner. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I meant corner, edge, guard, corner. That's what I meant to say. So
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. But we have time. We're going to talk about what we need going forward. But anyway, we like to try to keep this under 25 minutes. So we almost there. It was a tough one, Lions fans, but I believe that we're going in the right direction. It just stings because we were that close. Unlike the 91 team, the 91 team wasn't this close because that Redskins team was very dominant. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And when we kind of knew that this was right there, and we knew it Saturday, that our Lions had a chance. Unlike 91, we pretty much had almost no chance, to be honest. This time we had a chance, but whatever.
We had a chance
Let's
to win it all. I would have liked the Lions versus the Chiefs, but yeah.
That'd have been a good game. I think so too. But on to 2024, people. Well, son, if we didn't forget anything, I guess we holler at y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.